The soft early summer sunlight streamed into the Wilson family's kitchen in their upscale Boston suburban home. At the marble kitchen counter, Melissa expertly flipped pancakes. As the sweet aroma of blueberries wafted through the air, 5-year-old Noah sat at the island counter, watching his mother's movements with eyes full of anticipation. The golden veins in the white marble countertop sparkled in the morning light. "Mom, make this one look like a dinosaur. Like a T-Rex." Noah exclaimed excitedly, waving his little hands. A favorite dinosaur patch adorned the collar of his blue pajamas. Melissa smiled at her son's innocent request as she carefully shaped the pancake batter into a dinosaur form. Skillfully manipulating the pan, she meticulously crafted everything from the long neck to the tail. "There you go, your T-Rex is ready." "Wow, amazing! It even has a tail." Noah nearly jumped out of his chair with joy. This morning routine had become a precious source of happiness for Melissa. Her son's pure smile helped ease her daily fatigue. Through the kitchen window, she could see the well-maintained garden's greenery. The Japanese maple they had planted last year had grown remarkably this season. The sound of leather shoes echoed from the entrance. Thomas stood there in his dark gray suit, holding a black briefcase. Her husband, who used to always stop by the kitchen, had rarely joined them for breakfast lately. She noticed his tie knot was messier than usual. "Breakfast today," Melissa called out. The warm kitchen atmosphere suddenly felt cold. "Early meeting." "Sorry," came the curt reply as he kept his back turned. His voice lacked its former warmth. As the front door closed, Melissa felt something unsettling but continued with the morning preparations. In her 3rd year as a luxury real estate agent, she had an important property viewing scheduled for the afternoon. It was a $15 million deal that would be her biggest achievement this year if closed. A subtle rosemary fragrance drifted from the herb pots on the kitchen windowsill. Melissa tried to calm herself while tending to the herbs. These simple daily activities now held special meaning. After dropping Noah off at kindergarten, Melissa began reviewing documents in her home office space. The bright study on the 2nd floor served as her perfect workspace. Large windows overlooked the cityscape, and the white-themed interior exuded a clean, sophisticated atmosphere. Her eyes fell on the family photo on the desk. Last Christmas, Thomas had still shown his family that gentle smile. In the photo taken by the fireplace, Noah carefully held the toy dinosaur he'd received from Santa. It remained her son's precious treasure. Her husband's changes over the past 3 months worried her. His phone ringing late at night, leaving the room to speak in hushed tones. Unexplained large expenses. Increased weekend work. His haggard expression and decreased family conversation. Though his investment advisor job should be going well, something felt wrong. Sometimes unfamiliar business cards were scattered on his desk. As his wife of many years, she could easily notice subtle changes in her husband. No longer sharing breakfast. Canceling weekend golf. Above all, dramatically reduced time playing with Noah. Every time she saw her son's lonely back, Melissa's heart ached. Lost in these thoughts, she received a call from her mother-in-law Diana. The mild-mannered and thoughtful mother-in-law had always been someone who gave precise advice. "Melissa, I saw Thomas." Something seemed off. Diana's voice carried unusual anxiety. "Yes, I've been concerned too," Melissa replied, gazing out the window. "I wonder if he's troubled about something. But I know he truly cares about you and Noah." Her mother-in-law's words carried her usual conviction. After hanging up, Melissa sighed. She felt anxiety about their peaceful daily life gradually crumbling. While preparing for the afternoon property viewing, she checked her mobile phone repeatedly, hoping for contact from Thomas. But even the lunchtime messages that used to come without fail had become rare lately. While checking documents, Melissa occasionally checked on Noah. Her son was absorbed in playing with his new dinosaur figures, lost in his imaginary world. He made his pteranodon soar high and his triceratops run across the plains. His innocent voice echoed pleasantly through the quiet room. "The T-Rex is coming." Melissa smiled at her son's voice and returned to her documents. Just then, the landline rang. The house phone that was rarely used. The display showed unknown number. A moment of unease ran down her spine. "I'll get it." She couldn't stop Noah from cheerfully picking up the receiver. Melissa watched her son anxiously. Noah's expression turned serious. "Mom, it's the police." At those words, Melissa's heart leaped. "Police? Why?" She hurriedly stood up and took the receiver from her son. She noticed her hand was trembling slightly. "This is Melissa Wilson." Though she tried to keep her voice steady, she couldn't hide her agitation. "This is Detective Johnson from the Community Safety Division. I apologize, but this is an urgent warning." The voice mixed professional coolness with urgency. Behind her, Noah anxiously watched his mother's expression. Melissa tried to smile at her son but couldn't manage it. "Your house is in a dangerous situation. We've determined there's a high probability you're being targeted by an organized crime group." "What? What do you mean?" Her voice cracked involuntarily. Cold sweat beaded on her forehead. "Detailed explanation will come later. Please evacuate immediately. Take your valuables and important documents to the hotel I'm about to tell you." The police voice grew more stern. Melissa's hands began to shake. Noah looked up with a worried expression. His small hand tightly gripped the hem of his mother's skirt. "If possible, within 30 minutes. There isn't much time." Those words brought on panic. Her mind went blank. Suddenly, her husband's face flashed through her mind. Contact Thomas. That thought alone became a beacon in the chaos. With trembling fingers, she operated her smartphone and called her husband's mobile. Thomas immediately answered the call that he usually wouldn't take during work. "Thomas." There was a call from the police. "Melissa." Her husband's voice was higher than usual. There was a sense of urgency, as if he had sensed something. Listen calmly. That's a scam. But the police. Don't leave the house. It's dangerous to go meet anyone. Promise me. Thomas's voice was almost pleading. Why? Do you know something? Amidst the confusion, his unusual reaction felt strange. I can't explain now. Just don't leave the house. Call the police right away to verify. The call ended. New trembles added to the hand holding the receiver. What did her husband know? Why was he so desperate? And above all, how did he know it was a scam so quickly? Mom. Noah's anxious voice brought her back to reality. She immediately called the police station to verify. The local police station responded that they had issued no such warning. Cold sweat ran down her back. Noah, come here to Mommy for a moment. She held her son tightly. His small body temperature helped calm her confused heart somewhat. Outside the window, the afternoon sunlight poured down as usual. However, that peaceful scene now felt eerie. Questions swirled in Melissa's mind. How did her husband know it was a scam so quickly? Why did he so desperately tell her not to leave the house? And who had made this fake warning, and for what purpose? That night, even after the clock struck 11 p.m., Thomas hadn't returned home. After putting Noah to bed, Melissa stepped into her husband's study. Opening the heavy wooden door, the familiar space now seemed suspicious. Moonlight streaming through the window cast eerie shadows on the neatly arranged documents and bookshelves. The air in the study still held a faint trace of Thomas's favorite cigar. Family photos hung on the wall. Last summer's vacation, taken at Cape Cod Beach. Thomas giving Noah a shoulder ride. Back then, there shouldn't have been any shadows. With a deep sigh, Melissa began searching for evidence. First, the desk drawers. They weren't locked. The top drawer contained normal office supplies. The middle drawer held files of important documents. And in the bottom drawer, several unfamiliar envelopes. When she picked them up, she saw the logo of the luxury hotel, Grand Boston, printed on them. Inside the envelopes were credit card statements. They showed unbelievable payment records. Multiple payments at the luxury hotel, Grand Boston. Payments at Eternal, an upscale jewelry store. Dining expenses at unfamiliar high-end restaurants. All these expenditures were concentrated on weekdays during lunch hours or weekends when he claimed to be on business trips. Moreover, the first payment started 3 months ago, when Thomas's behavior began to change. The mobile phone left on the desk. She knew the password. Their wedding anniversary date. Opening the screen, suspicious histories jumped out at her. Was this evidence of an affair? Or something even more serious? The suspicious call impersonating police. Her husband's abnormal reaction. Everything seemed like part of a greater darkness. The next morning, when the doorbell rang, it was her mother-in-law Diana who visited. Usually perfect in makeup and sophisticated clothing, Today she appeared barefaced. Her expression carried urgency instead of her usual elegance. "Melissa, I couldn't keep quiet anymore." Her mother-in-law's voice trembled as she sat in the living room. "What's wrong?" Anxiety spread in her chest. "Last week, I saw Thomas at the Bluebird Cafe downtown." Diana began speaking slowly, as if choosing her words. "He was with a young woman. But my son's expression, it looked like he was being threatened. I couldn't believe it at first. But when the woman showed him some documents, Thomas's face turned pale." In Melissa's mind, puzzle pieces began fitting together. That afternoon, she made up her mind to go to her husband's company. A modern office building with glass walls. Through the security gate, up to the 35th floor by elevator. While waiting at reception, just then, a strikingly beautiful woman passed by. Perfect suit. Glossy black hair. A presence as if she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. "Ah, Jessica. Need the new documents?" A passing colleague called out. Yes, Morgan understood. The woman answered in a sweet voice. Something threatening could be felt in her departing figure. After a while, Thomas's colleague Mike approached. A friend since college days, he was also close with Melissa. After checking his surroundings, he spoke in a low voice. "Actually, there's something concerning about that person." "What do you mean?" Jessica Morgan. A new secretary who joined 6 months ago. But Mike hesitated. There are rumors she caused problems at the Chicago branch 2 years ago. Issues with her relationship with a superior. At that moment, noticing a figure descending from the elevator, Mike hurriedly left. It was Jessica Morgan. She glanced at Melissa, flashed a meaningful smile, and disappeared gracefully toward the president's office. That night, Melissa stood by the study window, unable to sleep. 3 a.m. Headlights cut through the silent upscale residential area. Her husband's familiar car stopped in front of the house. Through the curtains, she saw the beautiful woman from earlier in the passenger seat. Jessica Morgan. She handed over an envelope, and Thomas received it with trembling hands. His expression showed none of the intimidating manner from the company earlier, instead revealing an emptiness as if beaten down. After the car left, the sound of the front door opening could be heard. Her husband's footsteps climbing the stairs. Melissa stared at the evidence scattered on the desk in the study, the door left open. Her husband's figure appeared in the doorway in the moonlight. "Melissa." Thomas's voice trembled. Gone was the former confident investment advisor. There stood just a cornered man. "Let's talk, Thomas." Melissa's voice rang out more calmly than she expected. The next morning, after leaving her son with Diana, Melissa visited the local police station. A substantial stone building. Entering the entrance, a tense atmosphere hung in the air. Detective Brown, in his late 40s, was a mild-mannered man with sharp eyes behind his gentle expression. "Could you start with yesterday's suspicious call?" Detective Brown began in a calm voice. Melissa explained the events since yesterday in chronological order. The call impersonating police. Her husband's abnormal reaction. And the events she witnessed last night. And this woman's name. Jessica Morgan. The moment he heard that name, the detective's expression changed. His fingers stopped on the keyboard for a moment. Do you know her? Melissa's heart raced. There was a similar case in Chicago 2 years ago. The detective began explaining while facing his monitor. She was arrested for blackmailing a superior at an investment firm, but the case was withdrawn after a settlement. She disappeared afterward. The method is the same. After establishing relationships within the company, she threatens with evidence. 3 similar cases have been confirmed so far. That means, yes, high possibility of organized crime. Yesterday's fake call is also their usual tactic. While victims leave their homes, they search for evidence or use family members for further demands. As she listened to the detective's explanation, anger welled up inside Melissa. Anger at her husband's betrayal. But simultaneously, complex emotions toward her cornered husband as well. The detective continued with a serious expression. What I'm about to tell you will be a very delicate operation. That evening, following police advice, Melissa decided to confront her husband. Waiting in the study for 30 minutes. Footsteps climbing the stairs could be heard. The door opened and Thomas appeared, looking exhausted. Thomas. Melissa's voice echoed in the quiet space. Tell me everything. I've consulted with the police. The color drained from her husband's face. He collapsed into a chair as if his legs had given out. I'm sorry. Thomas's voice trembled. His figure was no longer the confident investment advisor, just a tired middle-aged man. It started as a normal relationship. As an enthusiastic news secretary. Words emerged in a suppressed voice. And Melissa tried to maintain her composure. Last December, after the Christmas party, Thomas stumbled over his words. I had an affair. The next day, she showed me photos. And secretly recorded videos. Still unable to raise his face, Thomas continued. Initially demanded $500,000. I thought it would end if I paid. But it kept coming, one after another. Why didn't you tell the police? I was threatened. If I went to the police, she'd expose everything to the company and family. I'd lose my promotion, reputation, everything. But more than that. Thomas finally met Melissa's eyes. I was afraid of losing you and Noah. As she listened to his confession, various emotions swirled inside Melissa. The sadness of betrayal. Anger. And somewhere, a feeling of pity. Just then, her phone rang. It was Detective Brown. Everything is ready. We'll execute tomorrow morning. The next morning. An office building towering in Boston's financial district. The police had carefully gathered evidence and waited for the moment to arrest. Melissa headed to the company after receiving police contact. Up to the 35th floor by elevator. Her heart rate increased. On the high-rise floor of the major financial company. As employees worked as usual, police quietly appeared. Led by Detective Brown, 6 officers approached their target. Jessica appeared, walking gracefully in her finest suit. Perfect makeup. Glossy black hair. In that figure commanding the male employee's attention, no trace of a blackmailer could be seen. Miss Jessica Morgan. Detective Brown's voice echoed through the office. Jessica turned gracefully. Her expression still showed composure. "You're under arrest on suspicion of blackmail." The detective's words rang out ice-cold. At this sudden event, the entire office fell silent. The sound of typing keyboards, copy machines, everything seemed to stop. "Wait. This is a misunderstanding. Jessica's voice cracked. As handcuffs were placed on her, her composed expression began to crumble for the first time. "This is an unjust arrest. I'll call my lawyer." Gone was the elegant secretary. Just a criminal showing her ugly true face. Voices of shocked employees. People trying to take photos with their phones. Everything seemed like an unreal scene. Melissa watched everything from a distance. The perfect plan that was seen through by a mother's intuition with the fake police call. The determination to protect her son and family led to solving the case. During police interrogation, everything came to light. 1 week after the arrest, Melissa met with Detective Brown again. "It's thanks to your cooperation, ma'am. Their organization has been completely dismantled." The detective showed a relieved expression. "What about the other victims?" "We've already contacted them. Even those who settled are now considering pressing criminal charges." Outside the window, spring sunlight shone brightly. The beginning of a new season. It would also mark the start of a new chapter for Melissa's family. 1 year later in summer. Melissa was living with her son in a new house in the suburbs near her parents. A cozy single-family home with white walls and deep green lawn. After the incident, she made a big decision. Separation from her husband. The beginning of a new life. It was a necessary choice to heal her wounded heart. Her real estate business was thriving, even more successful than before. Perhaps the experience of overcoming crisis had given her new strength. Her reputation for handling luxury properties steadily spread through Boston's upper-class society. "Mom, look!" Noah's voice rang out from the garden. Her son, now 6 years old, had completely adapted to the new environment. He had made many friends at kindergarten and rarely showed the anxious expressions of before. "That's wonderful." Melissa praised the sand castle her son had built. Beside it lay the dinosaur figures he still treasured. Children's adaptability is remarkable. The memories of the incident seemed to be gradually fading in her young son's mind. Thomas continued weekly counseling. Though separated from Melissa, he never missed visits with his son. He spent 2 weekends a month with Noah. Today was one such visitation day. "Dad, let's go to the zoo next time. I want to see the giraffes and elephants." Her son's eyes sparkled. "Yes, it's a promise." Thomas's voice no longer held its former confidence. However, in its place, a more human warmth could be felt. After the incident, he left the investment firm. He had taken a new step at a smaller company. Though his salary was less than half, he had gained time to value family. The settlement payments continued, but he kept up with them faithfully each month. Diana also visited frequently to watch her grandson grow. Today, too, the three of them enjoyed a barbecue in the garden. Through the smoke, her mother-in-law's gentle smile could be seen. "Melissa, your decision was right." Diana spoke in a quiet voice. "Though I hesitated at first, maybe choosing separation actually saved our family." "Yes. But this isn't the end," Melissa answered while gazing into the distance. "I want to gradually create a new form of family." Jessica's trial had concluded 3 months ago. The array of evidence and victims' testimonies. Everything made their crimes definitive. News of the case sent ripples through the financial world. Many companies were forced to review their harassment countermeasures and internal reporting systems. The suffering of Melissa's family became a catalyst for making society a little better. And this Christmas, a modest party was being held at Melissa's new home. A small tree in the living room. A slightly awkward angel decorated by Noah sparkled at its top. Thomas had been invited too. In his hands, a present for his son. A new dinosaur encyclopedia. Noah jumped into his father's arms with joy. At that sight, tears glistened in Melissa's eyes. "Melissa, thank you for everything." Thomas's voice had regained its former gentleness. It was a humble and warm tone, without arrogance. "You've worked hard too," Melissa answered quietly. "For our family, from now on too." Those words carried deep nuance. Not necessarily meaning returning to their original form, but a pledge to cherish family in their respective positions. As Diana watched warmly, a new family form was slowly being built. It might not be a perfect form, but perhaps it was a stronger, more genuine bond. Outside the window, white snow had begun falling quietly. Large crystals danced down, sparkling in the streetlights. Noah ran to the windowsill and pressed his small palm against the window glass. "Mom, it's snowing." At his voice, the whole family gathered by the window. Someone began humming "White Christmas." In this moment, Melissa was certain that any trial can be overcome with true love, and that even wounded hearts surely heal with time. In the night sky about to welcome a new year, a star of hope shone quietly.